Happy Friday, everybody. Here we're going to do some Detroit Lions rumors slash article talking about players the Lions should trade for from Sideline Report. 4 players from the Las Vegas Raiders. I already seen the list of the players, and I'm a little confused. At least on one, doesn't really make a lot of sense, but we're going to go over it anyways. And I want to hear what your thoughts are on this article. Would you trade for any of these players? Because the trade deadline is coming up here in about 3 weeks. And look, if you're a team like the Detroit Lions, folks, winners, teams that are doing really good, that could make a push, are looking to trade for players, and teams that are really bad are probably looking to unload some players. That's what happens at the trade deadline, and hey, it makes the NFL fun and interesting. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. Do me a favor and smash that like button. Let's get to 100 likes in this video. I think it's easy to do so, and it would definitely help out. Likes do help out. So let's get to this article here really quick from Sideline Report. It was actually just done about 2 hours ago. So this is talking about 4 Raiders players that the Detroit Lions should go ahead and trade for. And we're going to get into the list here. Just like the intro is just basically what I just said, right? There's teams that are looking to unload players and teams looking to acquire players. Good teams. First player is wide receiver DeAndre Carter. Now, I can understand the Lions wanting to get a wide receiver right now, like a DeAndre Carter, someone that's not utilized that much. Marvin Jones Jr., if you think about his production right now, it's been absolutely god-awful. The production that, we thought we would get out of him has been non-existent. He's literally just a body out there right now, and somebody that's basically a mentor because he's not getting anything done production-wise. I don't even think he's caught one catch yet. He's had a couple drops, and the Lions would like to get better at the wide receiver position. And I could see a situation where maybe they want to get a depth wide receiver because of that. But with Jameson Williams now returning, do you really need that now? Probably not. Now, this guy's not the biggest guy in the world. He's a smaller guy at 5'8", and he can get in there and do the Amon-Ra St. Brown role and the Khalif role and gain some yards. But at the end of the day, I don't think that the Lions would trade for a wide receiver, just in my personal opinion right now, unless, there was a big injury to a St. Brown where it's going to knock him out for some time because of Jameson Williams coming back a little bit earlier. I just, I don't see it. And, there was Mike Evans rumors. For sure, the rumors were legit and were legit, but they're 3-1. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. They're not going to be trading anyone now. Another player they had on the list here is cornerback Marcus Peters. This one doesn't make any sense to me. Of all the positions the Detroit Lions are very good with, cornerback is one of those positions. Our depth there is very good. Very good. You got players, you got safeties and corners that can play each other's positions. Emmanuel Mosley literally is coming back in this game. Yeah, I know that we lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson for a majority of the season, but he legitimately could come back at the end of the year when the Lions are near the playoff push. So why would you trade for a cornerback? You got Jerry Jacobs. Yeah, he's had a couple bad games, but then he had a really good game, and he's a backup. Cam Sutton, starter. Emmanuel Mosley, starter. You got Brian Branch, who can do the slots. He can do everything. You got Jerry Jacobs. He's a backup guy. Melifonwu, he's a safety. The Lions' secondary is squared away. I see no reason for the Lions to trade for any cornerback if you're going to make a trade. Just doesn't make a lot of sense here. So this one, I would say no. I would not see that happening. Now, the next two is probably the most likely names, and you've heard these names here. And Davante Adams, yeah, he potentially could be on the trade block, and that's 100% legit. Why is that legit? Because he doesn't want to be there. Josh McDaniels is terrible. He's 30 years old. They can trade him away, and he can go to a team that's winning, like the Detroit Lions. And he's still very productive, very good wide receiver. That would put a team over the top, right? That would definitely put the team. You're looking at having Davante Adams, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. That would be one of the scariest wide receiver rooms in the National Football League. But you got to pay the man, right? He has a salary. You got to pay him. Now, you probably afford it this year, but what about next year? And he's 30 years old. And what would you have to give up to get a Davante Adams at 30 years old? I'm not wanting to give up no first-round pick. Maybe a mid to late round, not late, but, like a fourth-round pick. Would they accept that? Probably not. It's his age that worries me because he's 30. And the Lions are a young football team looking to, be good for the long haul, not just a one-year wonder. We're looking to be good for more than 1 year. But make no mistake about it, he would make this offense much better. He really would. So, I just don't know what the comp would be for something like this. I think the Lions would call on it, and ask what type of comp you'd want. For sure. I mean, every team would have to do that. At least the teams that are competing, you would want to know what at least the comp is if he is on the trade market. So, I mean, that would be doing your due diligence for sure. And I could see the Lions doing that, but the Raiders giving up something like a fourth for him seems unlikely. Because he's too talented. So, maybe he does get traded. Maybe it's just not to the Detroit Lions. He get traded to other teams too. That's very possible, but him potentially being traded is possible because he don't want to be there. And the history, Josh McDaniels traded Jay Cutler, Tony Scheffler. He traded the wide receiver from Denver. Like, when he was over there, it was a wrecking ball. So, we'll see on that one. Next is something that we've talked about. Max Crosby. That would be an interesting player to trade for. He costs money. He's on a big contract. So if you're to trade for him, you can afford him this year, but it's the years down the road. And you got to think about Penei Sewell, St. Brown, Jonah Jackson, Jared Goff, all the other players that you did, Derek Barnes. Can you afford that? Because he's going to cost a lot of money. But he is damn good. He is damn good. Right there, most pressures through week 4. Max Crosby at 27, Aiden Hutchinson at 27. If you had those two as your bookends, good luck. Like, you are a legit terror to offenses. Max Crosby and Aiden Hutchinson coming at you, holy God. It would be very good. Like, the defense would take that next step. You'd have another dog. You would have 3 dogs on this defense. Crosby, Hutchinson, Branch, just absolute dogs. Your defense would be really good because you have solid players all the way around. Maybe you can give up like a second-round pick and you flip them a Julian Okwara or a Romeo Okwara, something like that. Your team would be damn good. That's one half of the solution. The other half is, again, the money. You trust Brad Holmes' ability to draft players. Right? So you want to be good for the long haul. And when you do a trade like that, it can negate some of that because you're giving up draft capital and you got to pay other players. It would be really good for this year, and he's a very smart and intelligent player. I want to take him long to get used to this defense. Just pin your ears back, go after the quarterback. My God, this defense would be good. Really good. Look, I would call on it. I'm going to keep it 100. I would call on it. I don't know what I'd give up. I think a second-round pick is what I would give up. I can afford a second-round pick. That's what I would do. I'm not going to give up a first-round pick. I'm not going to do that. Even though we'd have it would be a late first-round pick because your team really could compete. I am thinking about what the Lions need to get better for next year's draft already. And you look at it, we're looking at guard, DT, potentially wide receiver because, when it comes to Marvin Jones, but that could be a middle to late round pick. There's some positions that we need to get better at as some of these free agents leave. And I'd like to get a guard for sure. And that's a prime spot to get a nice guard in the draft. But God dang, this team would look good. And he would look good in Honolulu blue and silver. You would be an NFC contender for sure. For sure. There's no doubt. You could compete with Dallas, Philly. And then that's right there. You're not competing for the NFC. You're competing with San Francisco 49ers with that type of acquisition. Yeah, 100% Super Bowl contender if they made that trade. No doubt. So that's something that they got to think about. I would definitely call on it. And I'm not a guy who likes to, you know me, I'm not a guy that likes to give up draft capital. But that would take it over the top. It really would take it over the top. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks. Remember, we play the Vegas Raiders on the 30th, Monday night. Trade deadline's the 31st. Keep an eye on that because Brad Holmes can have a good look at Max Crosby. But go ahead and hit that subscribe button, folks. Hit that like button. With that said, folks, adios.